Now, my final guest on the programme has become one of the most influential voices of a generation. As the founder of Flipped Eye Publishing and has been responsible for discovering, editing and publishing the debuts of award-winning writers, including Roger Robinson, Warsan Shiri and Nikesh Shukla, amongst others. His latest book, Azúcar, is published this week and is the long-awaited follow-up to a multi-award-winning 2009 debut, The Tale of the Blue Bird, and is a story of community, music and belonging that speaks to the lived experiences of Britain's Caribbean and African diaspora. I'm thrilled to welcome to the programme publisher, commentator and novelist Ni Ayikwe Parks. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jumoké, and thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Why has it taken you so... I mean, I know you've been busy, but it's taken you so long to write a second novel.
I know. I mean, I had some growing to do, and I had some poetry to write, and some children to have. I don't know. There is no one answer, but, you know, I've never been a believer in just churning out books so that there are books out there.
Yeah.
The book had to come at its time.
And tell us a bit about the book and its synopsis.
So Azúcar, as you kind of said, is about belonging. And there are two primary characters through which the ideas are kind of explored. One character goes to this fictional Spanish-speaking island in the Caribbean called Fumaz when he's a boy of 13, but becomes a member of the most famous band on the island, which kind of brings to mind the idea that if people spoke about the island, they would speak about the band and therefore speak about this person. And then the other character is born of parents from the island, but outside the island, and then goes back to the island when she inherits some land. This land, the title comes from the land, Azúcar. The land is so saturated with sugar that it can no longer make things grow, but it's saturated with sugar because her family planted the sweetest rice in the world, which was watered with sugar. So, yeah, that's a bit of a summary, and you can tell there's a lot of craziness in it, but I had a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started reading it. I mean, it got to be quite late, but I started reading it and I was like, this is going to be my summer book. I'm going to, when I have some time off, I need to sit and read this because I'm already immersed in these characters. And I'm like, this is very tasty. What I also love is that at the beginning of the book, you say it starts with music. How important is music in the process of writing for you?
It's fundamental. I grew up in a house haunted by music, and I say haunted because my father used to play a saxophone. And when my older brother was a little young in London, he got broke at some point. So he pawned the saxophone, hoping to go back for it, but he never went back for it.
Wow.
So I like to say, and it's probably true, we were tortured. We were tortured with great music. There was music playing all the time, and I think there was a kind of nostalgia for the instrument, but it meant that there was music around us all the time. So I write with music. And in writing Azúcar, I drew maps. I played lots of merengue. I played soca. I played son. I played salsa. There was just music playing all the time.
Wow. I mean, your record collection sounds like it must be immense.
Well, these days you don't need a great record collection. You just need a streaming service. I mean, I do have a decent record collection, but I actually rarely play my CDs and my tapes and my vinyls anymore. I do it on special occasions when friends come by to have a drink. And then, you want that crackle, and then you might play some vinyl.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. I mean, more broadly about the world of publishing, as I mentioned, Flipped Eye has just done amazing work. What made you go into that area of publishing? Did you think that there was such a need that it needed to be broken down in a way that was more accessible?
Yes. I think that when I came from Ghana, fully intending to become a writer, I started to go to events, and I would hear some work that I absolutely loved. And more than half the time, the people whose work I loved didn't have books. And I thought there's something wrong with this system here. And they tended to be working class or people of color, many of them women. And so I started a magazine just as a way to kind of share. I just wanted to share some of the goodness I was experiencing.
Yeah.
So I started the magazine, and then before I knew it, I said, "Oh, do you have a book?" And then, it's like a hobby that just captured me. But I did it out of love, and I still do it out of love. It's never been a profit-making thing, but it's been a thing of intervening and trying to bring balance to the reality of the creative world in London, in England, then in the world. And yeah, that's essentially how it started. But I think, we lost Amata Edu
Yes.
at the end of May,
Yes.
And one of the things that you realize when you listen to interviews is, unfortunately, as writers from the global South, we don't get to be just writers. We also have to be activists in order for our stories to be told properly. And we do these in little ways. Amaka Edu taught, mentored many people. And I don't teach as much, but I publish. And I try and find ways to guide young writers in how to have a career. So I'm never interested in just a book that somebody's doing. I'm interested in their careers. So the many people I publish who later I encourage to go to another publisher because I'm like, you're at this point now and I don't have the capacity. So it's really a labor of love.
And thank you for the labor of love, because there's so many books and authors that I would never have discovered if it wasn't through Flipped Eye. How do you feel the landscape of publishing has changed, though? You've obviously influenced it, but do you think the bigger titles, are doing enough work to encourage a wide range of writing from a wide range of people?
I think it's improved. And I always say you have to follow the money, because we were hidden for so long, the Roger Robinsons, Malika Bookers, Jacob Sam the Roses. We were ignored for so long, we became communities. We became our own editors, our own, critics. And so by the time we emerged, we were much more prepared for the world of publishing out there. And we brought, younger people with us. So there was a sudden surge and people thought, where are all these writers of color coming from? Where are all these working class writers coming from? But we've been incubating. And so I think because of that, because of the groundswell and because of, Anthony Joseph just won the T.S. Eliot, Roger Robinson won a couple of years before, Malika Bookers won a host of awards. All of those things, they bring attention, they bring commercial viability, and the market follows. So I think we've had great change, and the younger generation now are so savvy. They're really great at making sure that they're commercially viable. So I think this particular phase, I hope, will last longer, but also people are building infrastructure. You're seeing more editors from working class backgrounds, from the Caribbean, from Africa, from South Asia. And I think those things will make a difference. Every single one of them will be frustrated at some point, but it's better than it was a decade ago.
Can we talk about you being a model?
If you want to. Can we talk about you being like a triple threat of actor, musician, and radio presenter?
No, let's not talk about that. That's not what we're talking about. It's all about you today.
Okay.
It's all about you. The model thing just fascinates me. You're a good-looking man, but how did it come about?
If you're talking about particularly working with Oswald for London Fashion Week.
Yes.
So Oswald and I go back. I was writing residence at the V&A Museum in 2005.
Right.
And he came there to give a talk, and I chatted to him, fellow Ghanaian man. And we kind of left it there. I would occasionally bump into him at occasions. And then I tried to get him to come to Brighton Festival. And then the pandemic scuppered that, even though, it was all in place. And then he was working on his show. He said he wanted to have some poetry in an African language. I had been working with Peter Ejay, who is a musician, DJ, and older brother of the architect David Ejay, on some tracks where I said, I'm just trying to use Ghana a lot more. So the moment Oswald said that to Peter, who's his collaborator for sound, Peter said, you need to use Ni. And then Oswald said, you mean Ni Aikwe Parks? And then, and Oswald says, nobody's coming in my show unless they're walking as well. So I said, hey, of course, I'm happy to do it.
Did you get the suit? Did you get a proper?
Of course I got the suit. Come on now. I grew up in these streets. I'm a hustler. No, Oswald is incredibly generous. So he made me a fabulous, fabulous treat, which I flaunt now and then.
Yeah, that's good. We're looking forward to its next outing, presumably at some award-winning ceremony for this new book.
I hope so, yes.
I have vision for you. Just one final thing is that you're very forthright in your opinions. You don't hold back from coming forward. Do you think there is a cost to that? Because you are very candid. I mean, whatever it might be, whether it's to do with schools, whether it's to do with publishing, you're right there and you will give your opinion. What's the cost of that, do you think, to yourself?
Well, I guess the cost is that I'm not as, put forward on mainstream platforms. But, I think if you want your work and your interventions in this life to be enduring, then they have to be true. And if you can't be chasing the temporary acclaim, you've got to do stuff that means something to you. You've got to be able, especially for me, I think I've got to be able to look at my children and say, I did this because I believe it, not because I thought it would get me likes or it would get me famous or it would get me on, national TV. I've got to do it because I believe it. And so ultimately, I think that's what it is. I think that coming from a culture that believes that you leave and you become an ancestor and you have to have left something that is respectable so that you're a decent ancestor, probably influences that. I also just grew up in a family where we're very open and forthright,
Well, I want to say we're very glad that you do exist and don't become an ancestor too soon.
Oh, no, I'm not planning on that. I'm here to cause a lot of trouble for a long time, I hope.
And long may that trouble continue. A delight to have you on the program. And
wonderful to talk to you. And I hope I get to see you soon.
Yes, indeed. I really look forward to that. In the meantime, your novel is coming out on the 8th of June. So that is this week. So we look forward to the release of that. Azúcar comes out on the 8th of June. As I said, it is published by People Tree. And I was speaking there to the award-winning author, poet, publisher, Ni Ayikwe Parks. And I hope it does very, very well. As I said, I'm going to hold on to it for summer. I've started reading it, but I think when I get some downtime on those long journeys back and forth between the theatre and home, I shall be reading it.